And we're here. All right, everybody. Welcome in to High Noon, the High Noon Show with me, Pugs Moran. We do this every Monday through Friday, noon till, well, whenever. Hold on, let me get everything straight here. This is the first of two streams that we try to produce for you every day. The second one is called Pillow Talk, and that comes on 9 o'clock, like around 9 o'clock every day. Are you enjoying my voice today? Because I am. Okay, full disclosure. I am sick as crap, man. Sick as crap. I don't know what happened. I've been fighting the allergies, and the allergies I can deal with. They're just a pain in the ass, and they make me feel like dragging ass, right? They're just, ugh. But I now have some form of an infection, which is causing sore throat and all of that. And I don't look, I don't know. Maybe it's just the typical allergies that I deal with, and something went haywire, or maybe I caught something. I fell asleep. We fell asleep in the same bed with my kid on Saturday night. Big giant California king bed. It's like, seriously, you could sleep a basketball team on that thing. But we were watching scary movies on Saturday night, and we both fell asleep. And he had said earlier in the day, he's like, I got a bit of a sore throat. And I'm like, oh, great. So now, starting about last night, after we finished the mansplaining show, thank you to everybody who called in and everybody who participated. I woke up this morning and, sore throat, feeling like absolute ass. So this will not be a full metal show. The show will probably be about an hour, maybe a little bit more than that. I apologize, but I can't talk. I mean, I know this sounds sexy. I know this sounds like sexy me, but you know what I normally sound like. This ain't normal. There is something going on here that, so I apologize, but I do like this. I do like this voice. I like it a lot. I think if I could go through life with this voice, I would be a much happier person, as opposed to that like screeching weasel on methamphetamine that I sound like. See, that hurt. See, I tried to do that and that hurt. All right, a couple other programming notes here. The next two nights of Pillow Talk, not going to happen. I'm sorry. Tonight, there's just too many Halloween things I got to do. Like, too many. I got to answer the door for all these Silver Spoon rich kids that are going to be coming by asking for like full-size candy bars. And you got to have full-size candy bars in this neighborhood, or else, the neighbors will talk. And we've got also an insane dog that needs to be taken care of, because this is the worst night of the year for her. People with their dogs might say, no, it's 4th of July. Nah, she's all right on 4th of July. She's kind of all right with that. But it's endless people coming to the front door and knocking on the door, and endless people parading out in front of the house dressed in crazy colors and all. Drives her nuts. Last Halloween, she actually broke out. She broke out of the yard. She got under the back fence. She was just so insane, or so curious about what was happening. She broke out of the backyard. She running around the neighborhood. Oh, God, driving around. We're trying to find her. We found her. And the good thing about her is that when she gets out, she's like a completely different animal. She's real friendly. Like, when she gets out, she doesn't attack things. When she gets out, she's just like, wow, look at this world. And if you happen to be on the street when she runs and she's running free, instead of like attacking you like she would if you came to her backyard, she will then stop and roll on her belly and demand belly rubs. That's kind of how she does it out in the great wide open. She's not nearly as vicious as she is when she thinks she's protecting her house. So no Pillow Talk tonight. I think James, I haven't talked to James about this, but I think he also has a whole bunch of like dad responsibilities. He's got like 15 kids. I don't know if you know this. So apologize for that. And tomorrow I have to go to my kids' football game. It's a big game. I have to go to it. I have to be there. I have missed a number of games to bring you the fine Pillow Talk show. I just can't miss tomorrow. So I do apologize. But all these high noon shows will go on as planned. High noon shows every day at noon. Just we've got a couple of interruptions here in the Pillow Talk thing. Okay, I'm really struggling, folks, but that's okay. We're going to get through this. How was your weekend? I hope it was good. Okay, here's what I'm so scattered. I'm a little scattered. I'm drinking tea. I'm trying to save my voice. if I feel like ass at like 7 o'clock tonight, like if this progresses to where I think it is, I'm just gonna be miserable. I shouldn't be handing out candy, right? I shouldn't be. But what if this is not just a sinus infection that I've been dealing with sinuses and allergies for about 2 weeks now. It happens whenever the weather changes so drastically. And can I give this to somebody? I don't know. I don't know. I seem to have given it to my son because he also had sinus problems this week, and then he developed a sore throat. So who knows? All right, let's run through what today is. First, let me say hi to everybody that's here. April, hi, April. Hi, Byron. Hi, Melissa. Hi, Frank. Let's see who else. Let me pull the chat up. People coming into the chat room. Byron. There's Byron. There's April. We're seeing all the people. Okay, let's get into what today is. Welcome to High Noon, folks. I'm Pugs Moran. It is High Noon on 10/31. That is October the 31st, year of our Lord, 2022. It's Halloween. October 31st is the 304th day of the year. There are 61 days remaining until the end of the year. Sorry, I have to do this. You don't need to hear my pig snorts where I try to clear out my... And it hurts. It hurts now. Normally, all right, I'll do it once for you. Like normally when I do this, to like try and clear out my sinuses, normally it's just irritating and it's just a weird noise. But now it hurts. Like when I go, it's like, oh boy, there's something there. Excuse me. All right, we're gonna move through it. That's it. I've told you what's happening. So let's I've been drinking a lot of caffeine, so I'm trying to manufacture some sort of professionalism here. We shall see how that plays out. All right, let's see what happened on this day, because as this show goes, we tell you about all the things that happened on history in this day, then we celebrate some birthdays, then we mourn some losses, and then and only then do we get into the trending topics of the day. On this day in 1864, Nevada is admitted as the 36th state of the United States. Happy State Day, Nevada. On this day in 1895, the strongest earthquake in the Midwestern United States since 1812 strikes near Charleston, Missouri, causing damage and killing at least 2. I mention this because as a Midwestern boy, we used to always get like pissed. People were like, California's got the San Andreas fault line. They make movies about the San Andreas fault line. It's California's going to fall into the ocean. Hey, let me tell you something. The New Madras fault line that runs right through along the Mississippi and Ohio River. It's what created those damn rivers. The New Madras fault line is every bit as scary as the San Andreas fault line. You want to split the country in half? Because that's what New Madras is going to do. New Madras affects, what states does the New Madras fault line affect? Missouri, Illinois, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Indiana. Yeah, so like whenever those things happen. There have been New Madras seismic events, not big ones not since this day. Excuse me, in 1895. But there have been little ones, and they've been felt all the way as far north as Milwaukee, which means that, buildings in Chicago were shaking. So there you go. There you have it. Big ass New Madras fault line. But go ahead. You keep talking about California in your San Andreas fault line. The Midwest has one too, and it's just as scary. But nobody cares about the Midwest. Let's see here. In 1903, the Purdue wreck. Never heard about this. A railroad train collision in Indianapolis kills 17 people, including 14 players of the Purdue University football team. Never heard of that. 1913, the dedication of the Lincoln Highway, the very first automobile highway that stretches across the United States. Now, I mention this because, we don't do a whole lot of highway or infrastructure talk here. But I mention this because I drive the Lincoln Highway all the time. The Lincoln Highway, Route 30. If you're a south side or south suburbs of Chicago, you know the Lincoln Highway. Apparently, you could take the Lincoln Highway from like New York all the way to California, I guess, and it's just a road. It's not like an interstate or anything. It's just a road. It's just Route 30. I don't know if you can still do it, but my mom lives half a block from the Lincoln Highway. She drives it every day. And here's the thing. So I've always known that the Lincoln Highway was this really important historical thing in America. It was the first time that they had a road that you could just drive from one part of the country all the way to the other. And absolutely nobody who uses the Lincoln Highway every day gives that any thought. It's like, people travel. Well, I don't know if that's true, but it's a historic road in America, and there are mile markers, and everybody just ignores them. Like there's fancy plaques like every couple of miles that say this is an important road, and everybody who lives there and drives it every day is just like whatever. It's just like there's traffic. I hate this road. Lincoln Highway opened on this day in 1913. On this day in 1941, after 14 years of work, Mount Rushmore is completed. Got to tell you, no desire to ever go to Mount Rushmore. What do you do after you drive? It's like not an easy drive. But it's beautiful. Okay, all right, that's fine. What do you do after you stare at a mountain with faces carved into it? What do you do after that? Where you go? They got a big casino there? Maybe there's something to do. I just don't have any interest in seeing Mount Rushmore. I figure. I mean, I'm not going out of my way to see it. I figure if I'm ever in the area, yes, absolutely, I'll go look at it so I can say, yeah, I've seen it, but I got no real desire. Let's plan a trip to Mount Rushmore. Who does that? That's kind of weird. Maybe if you got kids, I don't know. I got kids. You don't want to go to Mount Rushmore. You got no interest in going to Mount Rushmore. On this day in 1963, the Indiana State Fairgrounds Coliseum gas explosion. Never heard of this either. A gas explosion at the Indiana State Fairgrounds Coliseum in Indianapolis kills 81 people and injures another 400 during an ice show. Not a good day in history for Indianapolis. They had the Purdue wreck, the big train collision, and then in 1963 they had this big gas explosion. I'm telling you, I think that we pipe gas into our homes, and I think like in 1,000 years, people will be like, can you believe people did that? You know what I mean? I think that's one of the things. I always look for the things that we're doing today that, like in 1910, when you'd get a 5-year-old hooked on cigarettes, and it was totally normal. You just see a 5-year-old smoking cigarettes. That's like the kind of thing that we look at now and go, what the hell were they thinking? I do. I think that gas, I think that we're using gas in the way that we're using it is going to be a problem. Or at least people are going to look back on it and go, that's kind of weird. Did they not know we had the sun that could power everything? I don't know. Maybe we'll be more in that mindset. Who knows? Let's see here. But there's a lot of money in gas, so it ain't going away anytime soon. Dangers be damned. Let's see. On this day in 1973, the Mount Joy prison helicopter escape. I love this. I've seen documentaries on this. This is totally cool. This is like straight out of a video game. This is like something out of an action movie. This happened in 1973. It was a bunch of IRA prisoners, a bunch of like IRA bigwigs who were, the Irish Republican Army, who were terrorists. Some IRA members hijacked a helicopter and just landed it in the prison grounds. And then the dudes who were like, the big ranking imprisoned IRA guys just got in the helicopter. They flew away. That was on this day. And then a movie, that's like a movie thing. That's like something you think that could never happen in real life. Well, it did on this day in 1973. On this day in 1984, Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi is assassinated by 2 Sikh security guards. Riots break out in New Delhi and other cities. Around 3,000 Sikhs are killed. She related to the other Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi. Indira Gandhi, was she like his daughter? Did he have daughters, or was he like a priest? I don't even know. It's been 40 years since I've seen that Gandhi movie. No, he was a dude. He liked the sex. He liked women. Well, wasn't he married? I think he was married and had kids. I don't know. Was she one of them? I don't feel healthy enough to really click on it and dive deep into the Indira Gandhi origin story. But there you go. On this day, she was killed in 1984. On this day in 1999, I'm mentioning this one because it's the biggest one. But man, there are a whole bunch of plane crashes today. A whole bunch of them. Bad day to be flying. Like fairly significant plane crashes. There was like one that I remember that crashed in Indiana on this day, and like 81 people were killed. But here's the big one. 1999, Egypt Air Flight 990 crashes into the Atlantic Ocean near Nantucket, killing all 217 people on board. Now, this is not to be confused with the Air France one, which happened like 2 or 3 years later, I don't know what happened with this Egypt Air thing. Again, I'm not feeling healthy enough to click on it because we're just going to roll through this show. But yeah, if you're so inclined, you can just look up Egypt Air Flight 990 and figure it out. On this day in 2002, a federal grand jury in Houston, Texas, indicts former Enron chief financial officer Andrew Fastow on 78 counts of wire fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy, also obstruction of justice. All of this related to the collapse of his employer, Enron. Who were the other? Ken Lay and Jeffrey Skilling were the other big ones who got taken down. Jeffrey Skilling is such a funny and curious character, especially for someone like me who grew up in Chicago, because Jeffrey Skilling was demonized as the he was the poster boy for corporate greed and just duplicitous actions in the boardroom, all that kind of stuff. He was a monster. Jeffrey Skilling was turned into a monster. But at the very same time, if you lived or grew up in the Midwest, you know that his brother, Tom Skilling, is like the most beloved TV weather guy on earth. Tom Skilling, WGN, Super Channel, Superstation. He used to be blasted all over the place. Tom Skilling is so nice, so kind, so sweet, so lovable. He's like a big teddy bear of a man, and he's been doing it for like 60 years in Chicago. He is absolutely beloved. And then his brother turns out to just be a complete a-hole. This is weird. Like two brothers can be like totally different. What else do we have here? On this day in 2017, a truck drives into a crowd in Lower Manhattan, killing 8 people. Yeah, I remember that. And the truck was just... All right, let's do some birthdays. Let's celebrate some birthdays. Some people who were born on this day. Miss Ellie. Miss Ellie. That's right. Barbara Bell Gates, 1992. Born on this day. She was in Dallas. She played the matriarch of the Ewing family. On this day in 1926, Jimmy Savile, English radio and television host. Just world-class pedophile. Just world-class child molester. He was like the Mr. Rogers of England for decades. And then it turned out that only after his death. I mean, he was like knighted and he was given all of these awards, for being just this icon of British television. And turns out that he was just a monster. There's a number of documentaries about Jimmy Savile you can watch. But yeah, from Mr. Rogers or Captain Kangaroo or whatever the hell you want to consider him, from that to just one of the most prolific serial pedophile rapists in the history of serial pedophile rapists. And he was able to get away with it all for so long because of his reputation, because he was Jimmy Savile. He was Mr. Rogers. Also born on this day, Michael Collins, born on this day in 1930. Michael Collins, American general, pilot, and astronaut. Loneliest man in the universe. That's what he was famous for. He was the Apollo 11 crew member who did not get to go to the moon. He had to stay in the ship, the capsule. And when he went around the moon and he was on the dark side of the moon and there was no radio contact with NASA, he became the loneliest man in the universe. Michael Collins, cool dude. Born on this day in 1931, Dan Rather, American journalist, news anchor, replaced Walter Cronkite. Dan Rather, born on this day in 1931. Born on this day in 1936, Michael Landon, American actor, director, producer. He was Pa. What was their name? Not Ewing. Little House on the Prairie, whatever he was. Little House on the Prairie. And then he was... Then there was like Highway to Heaven, right? Didn't he play an angel or something? He was beloved. He died young. How old was Michael Landon when he died? Please don't be, because I was a little kid and he was like a big movie star. I thought he was super famous. And I also thought he was super old. And look at that. He was 2 years older than me when he died. Okay, there you go. I guess I'm super old. No getting around it. Born on this day in 1943. Forgive me if I start to cry. Brian Piccolo, subject of the greatest sports film of all time and the only film that men are allowed to bawl like a bitch at. Brian Piccolo, born on this day. Brian's Song. If you ever saw Brian's Song with James Caan and Billy D. Williams about Chicago Bears running back Brian Piccolo, who died. It was during, like the 1969 season, 70 season, whatever. He had cancer. It was terrible. But he is a beloved icon around the NFL. Brian Piccolo Award. They give out the Brian Piccolo Award. Born on this day in 1945, Brian Doyle Murray, brother of Bill Murray, American actor and comedian. Brian Doyle Murray, awesome. Born on this day in 1950, John Candy, another whole bunch of awesome. John Candy, Canadian actor, producer, and screenwriter. John Candy is also trending, so maybe we'll get into him. We can't do a John Candy draft because we did a John Candy draft like on his death day just a couple of months ago. But John Candy, I tell you, that was a big one for me. When he died on this day, not on this day, when he died in 1994, he was born on this day in 1950. That was a rough one because he was like, there was probably, I mean, between him and a few other of his castmates on SCTV, John Candy is probably as responsible for my sense of humor as any other single individual. I mean, I liked Belushi as well, and I liked Bill Murray when I was little, but John Candy and the stuff that he did on SCTV, I mean, I would have ranked him as the funniest person alive. I would have ranked him as my absolute favorite comic actor. And again, he's one of these guys that absolutely beloved. Like, Belushi was cool too. Belushi wasn't beloved. People were like, Belushi's kind of a dick. Nobody ever said that about John Candy. John Candy was just this big, lovable, and Uncle Buck and whatever. All the movies that he made, Stripes, so great as Dewey Oxenberger in Stripes. Loved him. Born on this day in 1950, John Candy. Born on this day in 1951, Nick Saban, American football coach, Alabama. There you go. Lou Saban, right? His dad was Lou Saban, pro football coach and longtime college football coach. Nick Saban, born on this day in 1951. Born on this day in 1954, Ken Wall, American actor and screenwriter. Now, Ken Wall is somebody that people probably don't remember, but there was a period of time when Ken Wall was kind of a big up-and-coming actor. He was the star of The Wanderers. Remember the movie The Wanderers? He starred opposite Paul Newman in Fort Apache, The Bronx. And then he had a pretty popular TV show on CBS called Wise Guy. I never watched it, never watched Wise Guy, but, people liked it. I know that people liked it. The reason I mentioned Ken Wall is because he was involved in a really bad motorcycle accident that screwed up his back and it totally derailed his acting career. He had years and years of pain and, I don't know if there was pill addiction, but there was certainly a dependency on painkillers for all that he had gone through. And I remember being a young, I don't know, like when I was 21 years old or something, we used to hang out at this bar, this club that my friends all worked at called the Heartthrob Cafe. It was like the first bar that we ever hung out at, which now in retrospect means that bar sucked. Because any bar that has a bunch of 21-year-olds hanging out in it, that bar sucks. That's not a bar that I ever want to go to. Anyway, we used to see Ken Wall, the Wise Guy actor. He would just sit at the bar, just pounding, and just drinking. And we'd be like, that's the guy from Wise Guy. That's the dude from Fort Apache, the Bronx. That's the dude from, he lived in the area. He grew up on the south side of Chicago. So we always, and then we never saw him again. And I haven't heard word one about Ken Wall in probably 30 years, but hope he got his shit together. Born on this day in 1961, Peter Jackson, New Zealand actor, director, producer, and screenwriter. He's the Hobbit dude, Lord of the Rings and all that stuff. Born on this day in 1961, umbilical cousins with Peter Jackson. How about a little Larry Mullen Jr., huh? Drummer for the Irish rock band U2. Larry Mullen, that cool-ass drum riff at the start of Sunday Bloody Sunday. Larry Mullen Jr. I like him. I like you too, though, so I'm biased. Born on this day in 1963, my favorite member of the Smiths, Johnny Marr, English singer, songwriter, and guitarist. Love Johnny Marr. That dude is totally cool. Morrissey, whiny bitch. I mean, I remember the first time that I heard the Smiths, I'm like, who the hell is this whiny ass bitch? I just could not get into the Smiths because of Morrissey. Morrissey was a band for teen girls who like to cut themselves in the bathroom. That's like what Morrissey and the Smiths were. But Johnny Marr was pretty cool. Johnny Marr had some cool things that he did after the Smiths. He did some really cool work with the Smiths. So there you go. Who else do we have celebrating birthdays? All right. It says here it's Dermot Mulroney's birthday, but it could also be Dylan McDermott's birthday because I make no distinction between these two actors. But according to this, it is Dermot Mulroney's birthday. So I'm rewatching American Horror Story House season 1, which is, in my opinion, the best of the American Horror Story shows. So I'm rewatching House. I don't know. One of those guys is the star of it. It's either Dylan McDermott or Dermot Mulroney. I don't know. One of them was in American Horror Story House. One of them was in Shameless. I don't know which one. But happy birthday to you, Dermot Mulroney, Dylan McDermott. Born on this day in 1963, umbilical cousins to Dermot Mulroney, Dylan McDermott. Rob Schneider, American rapper and comedian. Rob Schneider, I guess he did a bunch of stuff on Saturday Night Live, but the thing that I always thought was the funniest thing that he ever did was a sketch on Saturday Night Live called Tiny Elvis. And it was just the dumbest. It was so stupid. The whole premise was that Elvis was the size of like a dashboard bobblehead, and Elvis would just like hang out on your dashboard. It was just funny. It was absurd and it was stupid, but it was funny. So there you go, Rob Schneider. You made me laugh. Born on this day in 1966. It says Ad Rock, but we all know him as Adam Horowitz, American rapper, producer, actor, Beastie Boy. I love the Beastie Boys. So happy birthday to you, Adam. Born on this day in 1967. Vanilla Ice. I met Vanilla Ice once. Vanilla Ice, and he's from Richardson. He's from around here, but he lived in Florida. And a news story had broke while I was doing a morning show in Chicago, that Vanilla Ice had retired from music and opened a bike shop in South Beach. So my show sent me down to South Beach to see if he was at the bike shop and to interview him live on the air. And guess what? He was there. He was there. Vanilla Ice was in the bike shop working in the back. And I walked in and I said, hey, I'm with the Chicago radio station. I'd like to do an on-air interview with Vanilla if he's in. And they went and got him. And Vanilla Ice came out and he took me in the back and we sat in the back and we talked on the radio. He talked on the phone. He was a really nice guy. He was, everybody's, Vanilla Ice, he took a lot of shit. And yeah, okay, I mean, I can see why maybe, but man, he was really nice. He was really just like accommodating and friendly. Nice guy. He was like, hey man, you want to hang out or go to lunch? Cause my flight back to Chicago was like a couple hours later. And he was like, you're welcome to hang out here. I'm like, no, I'm actually going to go to the beach. I'm just going to go and hang out on South Beach. But he was very nice. I was kind of expecting a bit of a dick, but he wasn't. Born on this day in 2000, Willow Smith, American singer, actress, and dancer. She's one of them Smith brood. I got no hot takes on her other than, I don't think I like the Smith family right now. I don't know. I don't think I'm cool with them. So, but whatever. You're a kid. What is she, 22 years old today? She's an adult. She's still a kid, though. I mean, kids stay younger much longer now. I have a couple theories on why that is, but I won't bore you with it. Don't want to waste my voice on that nonsense. Let's do some deaths. Harry Houdini, American magician and stuntman, died on this day in 1926. He was doing a trick, the water cabinet of death, I think it was called, where he hung upside down in a straitjacket in a plexiglass. Well, I guess it wasn't plexiglass back then because I don't think they had plexiglass in 1926. But he was hanging upside down, and he'd done the trick like a billion times before, and he'd always been able to do it. But something happened, and what happened was, one of the other bits that Houdini used to do was he said that he could take a gut punch from anybody in the world. So he would go out. Imagine this. Dude, this is not one that you want to have to deal with. So whenever he would go out, like if Harry Houdini was in a nightclub or something and the current heavyweight champ of the world was there, there'd always be this thing of, but you can't take a punch from me. And Harry Houdini would be like, all right, go ahead. Right in the breadbasket. And he'd like tense up, and he did it. He was able to do it. I don't know. I guess he had a 6-pack. He was able to like do that. So just before he went out in the water cabinet of death, he was backstage, and a young boxer came backstage, and they basically did the whole punch him in the stomach and he wasn't ready. He caught him off guard, and he punched him in the stomach. And apparently they believe that something ruptured. He took a big hit in the stomach. And that's why he ended up drowning. He couldn't get out. He was bleeding internally when he was hanging upside down. And that was it. This day, the death of Harry Houdini. On this day in 1983, this was a very dark day in Chicago. This was a really sad day. Huge day for me as a 14-year-old in Chicago. It's the day that George Halas died. Papa Bear George Halas, founder of the NFL, owner of the Chicago Bears, outfielder for the New York Yankees. Yeah, people don't know that. People don't know George Halas. Bo Jackson, who? George Halas played both professional baseball and professional football. He died on this day in 1983. And, we romanticize George Halas, but the fact of the matter is that in the last 10 years of his life, he didn't give a rat's ass about the football team. I mean, he did. He wanted to win because he was George Halas, but he didn't put any money into the team. He was basically at that point just stockpiling cash for these, end of life. So it's no surprise that George Halas dies in 1983. And then in 1985, the Bears finally put a team together because they started spending money. They're like, okay, the old man's dead. Let's spend some money and let's put a team together. George Halas died on this day in 1983. Dead on this day in 1993, 10 years later. Remember this? River Phoenix. River Phoenix died today. American actor and singer died on the sidewalk out in front of the Viper Club, the Viper Room there on Sunset Boulevard, Johnny Depp's bar. OD'd, did a whole bunch of drugs, got some bad drugs, and died right there on the sidewalk like a homeless person. One of the biggest movie stars in Hollywood just laid dead right there. Came out of the club, dropped dead. People tried to help him, and to no avail. This is the day that River Phoenix passed away. On this day in 2008, Pulitzer Prize-winning writer, American cultural historian, and another Chicago icon, Studs Terkel, died on this day in 2008. Studs Terkel was a really cool old man. Studs Terkel used to come and do our radio show all the time, and at that point, he was like a super old dude who had a lot of swagger and just a cool ass old dude with stories, who were really nice, really friendly. That was another big loss. If you don't know who Studs Terkel is, you should look him up. He was the voice of the working man. That's kind of what he was. That was his whole bit. He was awesome. Another one, United States Congressman and wildly corrupt congressman at that. Gus Savage died on this day in 2015. Gus Savage was a congressman, United States Congressman for decades and decades on the south side of Chicago, and he was bad. He was so corrupt. And he just did nothing. He just stockpiled stolen money. Did he ever get caught? I don't even know if he got caught. I don't know. I just know that when he died, people were like, okay, now maybe those people that he represents will have a real congressman. And guess what? They got Jesse Jackson Jr. That's right. Who had to step down. And because Jesse Jackson Jr. Was doing some crazy stuff. I don't know. I think he used money to buy like Michael Jackson's gloves, something crazy like that. So then they got rid of him. And then they got a guy named Mel Reynolds. Mel Reynolds came in, and Mel Reynolds quickly had to step down because he was having sex with a 14-year-old campaign volunteer. And I have no idea who is now in charge of that area. I think it's Robin Kelly. I think that might be Robin Kelly, who, according to my current voting status, is still my congressperson because I haven't switched over. I haven't registered to vote here in Texas yet. But there you go. On this day, super corrupt Gus Savage dies on this day in 2015. And this day in 2018, Willie McCovey. Well, if you're a San Francisco Giants fan, you know Willie McCovey, and you know McCovey's Cove. That's where all the balls get hit into the water outside of Giant Stadium there. I don't even know what that stadium's called. They all changed so much. Dead on this day in 2020, Sean Connery. Sean Connery. That's a big one. Sean Connery's a big one. We could do a Sean Connery draft, but I'm not really that great. I'm not feeling that great. So I'll just say this. What's my favorite Sean Connery movie? I love him in The Untouchables. I'm not really a Bond guy, so I can't use any Bond movies, but anyway, Sean Connery. Sean Connery, Scottish actor, born in 1930, died on this day in 2020. There is something funny, though, that was circulating a few days ago about Sean Connery. Apparently, back in like 1982 or something, Steve Jobs solicited Sean Connery to be one of the earliest endorsers of Apple computers when Apple computers were coming. And Sean Connery wrote him a handwritten letter back that was just so scathing. Like, Sean Connery didn't believe in computers. He thought it was a fad. He called Steve Jobs just another computer salesman. It's very funny. Very funny. Oh, yeah, that's what he said. That's how he signed it off. He signed off, in the end, Mr. Jobs, you are just another computer salesman, and I am James Bond. Signed, Sean Connery. I mean, a miscalculation, to be sure. I mean, Sean Connery probably wishes he had that one back because he probably could have gotten a stake in Apple in 1982 for being their endorser, but he didn't see the field. Arrogant guy. Must have been arrogant guy. All right, let's get into let's run through some of the trends today, and then I can get out of here and try and nurse my sickness. The Supreme Court of the United States is trending today because the Supreme Court is hearing arguments on affirmative action as it pertains to college admissions. This is a case that stems around Harvard and University of North Carolina. And I don't know what else to say about it, but the argument against it is that nobody should be allowed into college or admitted to college based on their skin color. The opposing argument is, oh, yeah, really? Like James Meredith, who needed state troopers to walk him into the school? Sure, okay. So that's the argument. I don't know. It's happening right now in front of the Supreme Court. We'll see how that goes. Brazil is trending. The big elections in Brazil, they have very, very big repercussions for the rest of South America, as Brazil is one of the emerging powers in the world. Brazil is a nation of, 230 million people, and they've got a lot of resources, and if they ever decide to stand up and flex a little bit, Brazil could be a very serious power there in South America. Lula, that dude. All right, so this was just a typical, liberal versus conservative election. Bolsonaro, however you say it. He was the current president. He's a very far right guy. He was tossed out. He is the first incumbent ever to run in an election in Brazil and not win re-election. First time ever. What did they have, a king there until 1980? I don't know how that can be, but apparently that's the truth. This Lula guy, he is the progressive candidate. He is a left candidate. He's all about saving the rainforest and, healthcare for all the people and, all that kind of stuff. He was thrown in prison for like a bunch of years for corruption. Lula was, and then he was let out of prison. And they were like, yeah, you were railroaded. He was like his conviction was thrown out. He was basically put in prison because he was a political enemy. He was a political enemy to the people who were in power. So they threw him in prison and tried to detain him. And, the people in Brazil were like, no, he's not. And then the courts were like, yeah, no, he's actually not. And they let him out. Sure, he's troubling to you, but he's not really taking these bribes and all that stuff like you tried to say he was. So the Supreme Court in Brazil, they let him out. And they said, go ahead, go free. We're sorry. And then he ran for president and he won. So there you have it. And by the way, the old guy, Bolsonaro, he's not leaving. He's calling fix, that whole thing. That's the thing we do now. There is no democratic process because everything's a fix when you lose. Let's see, what else do we have? Delphi, Indiana. This is a sad story. Delphi, Indiana, a bunch of years ago. I was living in the Midwest, so it was kind of a big story there. I don't know if it was necessarily a big nationwide story, but two little 13-year-olds went for a walk in the woods like they always did on a hiking trail, and some creepy-ass dude murdered them, right? And so it's been years and years since, they had any leads or anything in the murders of these two little girls there in Delphi, Indiana, and the police they've arrested a man, 50-year-old creeper. Delphi murders, live updates, suspect charged in killing of teen girls. The two girls were killed while hiking on February 13th, day before Valentine's Day, 2017. Delphi, Indiana, a Delphi man, Richard Allen, has been arrested for the 2017 murders of 8th graders Abby Williams, 13, and Libby German, 14. This according to Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter. Best friends, Libby and Abby, were on a hiking trail in rural Delphi when they were killed in the middle of the day on February 13th, 2017. The shocking slayings cast fear across the small Indiana town and garnered national intrigue. This marks the first time a suspect has been named in the mysterious double murder. Police have still not released how the girls were killed. Police still ask anyone with information to submit a tip. All right, so there you go. Just call the Delphi, Indiana Police Department. That's at least the family can have a little bit of closure, and the people in Delphi can know that at least there's not some dude. We'll see if he's convicted, but I'm looking at him and I convicted him with my eyes. I looked at the guy and I'm like, that dude looks like a ped. That dude looks like a murderer and pedophile son of a bitch. LAX is trending. LAX is trending today because earlier this morning there was a big carbon monoxide gas leak and they had to basically evacuate the entire terminal. That seems to be fixed now. 4 people were hospitalized for carbon monoxide poisoning, but that seems to be all fixed. How about El Capitan? El Capitan is trending. That's the kid. Remember the kid? We talked about this last week. Little 8-year-old kid whose parents let him go up, climb El Cap. He's going to be the youngest person ever to climb El Capitan. And I'm like, you suck as parents. Look, I spend when my kid was 8, half my day was spent, boy, get down from there. And these people are just like, he's 8 years old. He's going to be the youngest person to climb El Cap. Something terrible could have happened. It didn't. It didn't happen. Knock wood. Thank the Lord. But come on, man. This is not something to celebrate. What? Now they get all this attention and somebody with a 7-year-old is going to go, get up there. We don't need to be lowering the bar past 18 for kids climbing these giant summits or mountains or whatever the hell they are. I hate this story. I hate the way the story was celebrated. Oh, he's so wonderful. I'm like, it's dangerous as fuck, people. What are you doing letting your 8-year-old climb up? Well, he's been training for 2 years. Oh, really? 2 years? Since he's been 6. He's been training since he's been 6. He's still a kid. Coles stabbing. This is an ugly one. In Los Angeles, a couple of people visiting. I believe that they're from England, I think. So a father and his daughter were shopping at a Kohl's in L.A. We'll pull the story up. Hold on. Excuse me. Let me make sure we get this. I'm completely destroyed. Mother's heartbreak after her husband and daughter were both stabbed to death in an L.A. Kohl's parking lot during a random attack by a homeless man as crime spirals out of control. Ken Evans, 54, and his daughter McKenna Evans, 22, were attacked in a Kohl's parking lot just before noon on Thursday. McKenna died on the scene, and Ken was taken to a hospital where he also died. Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department arrested a suspect at the scene. Deputies said they believe the suspect to be homeless. He has not been named. Ken's wife and McKenna's mother, Elizabeth, said she saw the suspect smirk as he was being led away by detectives at the scene. The attack comes as crime continues to rise in and around the Los Angeles area. Statistics provided by the LAPD indicated that through October 10th, there had been a total of 24,450 violent crimes committed so far in 2022. However, that is really low compared to the peak of violent crimes back in the 1990s. So, you could say that crime is on the rise, but it is a lot less in LA County than it was 20 years ago. So, look, this is a terrible incident, and I think honestly it has more to do with a crazy person, a crazy person whose society just cast away, and now he's out there and he's a danger to all of us, and he's killing these nice people. I don't know what to do. I don't have the answers for that, but I do think it has something to do with mental health. Here we go again. Mental health in this country is out of control. Obviously, this is a crazy person. He's a crazy person. I think that anybody who chooses to live and exist on the streets is a crazy person. I think the sane person would kill themselves if they found themselves looking at an endless life of living on the streets. But you see these people who have been living on the streets for years and years. You can't call that a normal person. You can't call that a mentally sound individual. This is a terrible thing. So lock them up. What else do we have? Powerball. Here's some good news. Yeah, well, I guess. I bought Powerball tickets. Did you buy Powerball tickets for Saturday? Yeah, well, we all just threw our money away because nobody won. That's right. The Powerball is now up to $1 billion. It was 820, I want to say, when I bought my ticket on Saturday night. There was a drawing tonight. You got to get your tickets. Get your tickets tonight before what? I think the drawing is at 10 o'clock. So maybe you got to get your tickets before 9. I think it's like an hour before, maybe 2. I don't know. Go at 7 just to be safe if you want to buy your ticket. It's $1 billion. Why not? I'd spend $2 for $1 billion. Why not? Just throw that $2 away. I don't care. It's $2. I'm going to be able to spend the next, 10 hours or so whenever they do the drawing. I'll be able to spend the next couple of hours just dreaming. And is that worth $2? Is the fantasy of, wow, I could win $1 billion. Is that worth $2? Yeah, I think it is. You can't buy nothing with $2. That's a pretty good dream. That's a pretty good, especially today. I have to go out. I have to go to CVS. I have to buy all kinds of new stuff. I'm going to just flood my system with vitamin C. and we'll see where it goes. So when I'm out there, I'm going to get me a Powerball ticket. And hopefully I win. If I win, 23 people. Everybody in the chat room right now gets $1 million. There you go. I said it. Everybody in the chat room right now gets $1 million if I win. You can hold me to that. Of course, I am the guy who says that I'm going to give away all my money anyway, or at least most of it. I'm going to keep like 100 million because I'm going to be a rich guy, But if it's $1 billion, I will take that $900 million and I will use it to glorify myself. I will use it to become the Mother Teresa of the modern world. And I'll still keep 100 million because, maybe not 100 million, but enough. I'll sit down with an accountant and we'll figure out how much money do I need to have so that my next 3 generations, which means my son, and his son, can have generational wealth. That's all I'm interested in. I'm interested in all the way up to my great grandchild. Let them have. How much money do I need right now in 2022 to ensure that they will have generational wealth? I'm just spitballing. I think that's about $100 or 100 million. $100. I'm sorry. I'm sketchy. Ooh. So here's the show. I was talking about the show last night with Schwartz during Mansplaining. Actually, not during the show, but off the air, we were talking about what we do with the money. And I would like, like LA, not LAPD, but like that cop show live where it's just like, live shit that you're watching. So I would do that, but I would just drop into people's houses and knock on their door while the show is airing. And I give them like $1 million and change their lives and then move on. And we do it again next week. And I would do that. And I become like a big TV star. And then that's a new revenue stream. All right. So now I'm making some money because I'm a big revenue, I'm a big TV star because everybody's watching. Because that's the thing. You got to be watching. You got to be watching the show. If I'm going to knock on your door, everybody's going to watch. Everybody's going to watch. What could you imagine? Could you imagine? You show up at somebody's house. They open the door and you're like, are you watching Pugs gives away millions? And they're like, what? What's that? And I go, that's too bad for you. And then I walk and I go next door. Are you what? And they're like, yes, we are. And then they get $1 million. Just an idea. Because I would become really famous, and being really famous would provide new revenue streams. I'd be able to make money off of just being famous. At some point, maybe I'll be able to fund the actual show. Advertising. If everybody in America is watching because they got to be watching for their chance to win a random $1 million, advertisers will pay for that shit. My commercials will be Super Bowl level commercials. I will make $1 million every hour. I will. That'd be easy to get. I could totally make that. And then that's the $1 million that I give away. See what's happening? Now I'm sitting on the other 800 million or whatever it is that I have, and that's making money for me. I'm a terrible businessman. You've probably figured that out in the last couple of minutes. But yeah, that's my plan. So Powerball tonight, if you're willing to win or wanting to win, I think we're all willing to win. You got to get your ticket tonight. $1 billion for Powerball. Get it before 10 o'clock, the drawing. Kanye is trending again. But I'm so... I don't have the juice for Kanye. He's still hating on Jews. And he said that because of what the Jews are doing to him, he now understands what George Floyd felt with the knee on his neck, which caused a whole bunch of people going, oh, God, Kanye, you're just making it worse. Like, he thought he was apologizing, but he's got a spreadsheet that he was showing to people in this video that's circulating. You can see it. It's out there. He had a spreadsheet with all the names of these Jewish executives that he says are trying to destroy his life. But he's not anti-Semitic. I don't know. He's a wackadoo, man. He is crazy. Elon Musk is trending. Again, this has to do with his Twitter takeover. He's now in charge of Twitter. They fired all the executives. They fired everybody who was in charge of anything. And now in the first round of Twitter layoffs, 25% of people who work for Twitter are about to lose their jobs or are in the process of losing their jobs. It's believed he had stated just a week ago that he was looking to lay off 75%, of the Twitter workforce. And that begins today. 25% layoffs at Twitter today, happening today. Let's see. What else do we have? Okay, so this is a fun one. This is like the last one of the big stories that are trending. It's Halloween. Apparently there's no big stories because everybody's busy putting on makeup. Who knows? I'm sorry. I'm running out of fuel here. All right. So Halloween movies. So they did a poll of the scariest Halloween movies of all time. And I got to tell you, I'm not a fan of scary movies. It's not because I'm scared either. It's not that like I'm scared of movies. It's just, I don't know. I just think that they're Some of them are good. Some of them are good. Like I will tell you, and it didn't make the list. It certainly wasn't number one. But I think the scariest movie ever made is the original Shining, Stanley Kubrick's Shining, the one with Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall, Scatman Crothers. That's what I think is the scariest movie ever made. However, according to this list that was put out today in honor of it being Halloween, The Exorcist, 1973, The Exorcist shows up as the scariest movie ever made. I would put that in my top 5 if I was making this list 6 months ago. But we all watched The Exorcist recently. We all got together with the kids and we sat in the big TV room. We had a movie night and we watched The Exorcist. I gotta be honest, it wasn't as scary as I thought. Well, I mean, I guess I saw it when I was like 10 years old, so it was really freaky, but it wasn't as scary as I thought. Same with Amityville Horror. We also watched Amityville Horror, and I'm like, I thought that movie was really scary, and it just didn't seem scary. Shining is still scary. We watched The Shining, like, that movie's still creepy AF. That movie is a freaky movie. Exorcist comes in at number 1, scariest horror film of all time. Number 2 is Halloween, 1978. That's some bullshit. That movie's not even remotely scary. I'm not afraid of I'm not afraid of like I'm not afraid of like slashers or, escaped mental patients. That's viable. That could happen in real life. That's just something that I'm okay with. I'm not okay with, but you know what I mean? I don't think it's going to happen to me, but whatever. Halloween, I don't like the Freddy Kruegers when I say I don't like, it's not like they scare me. No, I don't like them because they don't scare me. They're like, Freddy Krueger is not scary. Jason Voorhees isn't scary. Michael Myers isn't scary. Shining scary. The Omen is scary. Anything having to do with ghosts or devils, that's the shit that gets me. Not serial killers, because those are real. You got to deal with those in our everyday life, or at least the fear that they're out there. But when it's one of these things that, okay, number 3, here we go. Yeah, forget it. You don't need to hear me. Number 3, Paranormal Activity, 2007. Okay, I don't think I've ever seen Paranormal Activity, but that sounds like something I might think is scary. Paranormal Activity is a horror film fan favorite, especially for those who are keen on ghost films. I am. The story unfolds as a couple moves into a suburban home and learns they are being terrorized by a supernatural presence. Never seen Paranormal Activity. Okay. The Shining. Here we go. The Shining comes in at number 4. I would put Shining at number 1, followed by The Omen at number 2, followed by The Exorcist at 3, but okay. Number 5, It Follows, 2014. It says, It Follows is a more recent addition to the list of movie critics' most loved horror films. The metaphorical story takes you through varying perspectives of being tortured by a shape-shifting monster. Not afraid of shape-shifting monsters. I'm sorry, not afraid of that. Also, Blair Witch Project. Blair Witch Project is one that I think is really scary. Didn't make the list. At least didn't make the top 5. All right, let's see. Let's jump into Twitter and let's see what else we have here. Let's see what's happening today. Again, sorry about the short show, but I am sick, and I can tell right now that I am running a slight fever. Sore throat, slight fever, feel like absolute ass. My sinuses are like total. And COVID, it ain't COVID because I know what this is. I'm used to this. This is something that just happens to me. And it's one of those irritating sore throats where it's not like crazy painful sore throat, but it's like every time you swallow, you're like, oh God, that's tight. Okay, let's see here. What is trending? Why is Auburn trending? College football? It's a Monday. Can we not have college football trending on a Monday? Diddy is trending. Apparently, Diddy got into a fight with some actor named Michael J. Ferguson. Diddy gets into a verbal altercation while dressed as the Joker with Power actor Michael J. Ferguson. Never seen Power. I hear it's good, though. People I know who watch Power are like, no, dude, you like good shows. That's a good show. You should check it out. I'm like, okay, maybe I will. I think there's like 5 seasons of it, so maybe I got that to look forward to. Stargirl. Don't know what that is, but Stargirl to end with season 3 at the CW. I don't know what Stargirl is. Is that like a Halloween or is that like a superhero movie? Harvard is trending. Harvard is trending because of the Supreme Court thing that's going on today. Nick Saban is trending, probably because it's his birthday. Who else? Enron is trending. John Candy is trending. There you go. All right. So that's about it. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this show up. I appreciate you being understanding. This is, I will be doing these shows. I mean, even if I just, if I'm even worse tomorrow, then maybe it'll be a 45-minute show, but I'll show up and I will do these high noon shows because these high noon shows, I love doing them. I love doing them. The Pillow Talk shows tonight, there will be no Pillow Talk show because it's Halloween and, just got way too much going on. And tomorrow there's no Pillow Talk show because I have to go to my kids' football game. So Pillow Talk will resume on Wednesday evening at 9 p.m. with myself and James Parker. High Noon Show, you can circle back and we'll get together again tomorrow at noon and we'll go through all the things that are happening on November the 1st because that's what tomorrow is. I hope you're well, and I am going to go lay down for a little while, and then I got to go to CVS and probably spend like $100 on nonsense. I'm going to buy like some throat spray, and it's going to be like $10. I'm going to buy like some vitamin C tablets, like a jar of vitamin C gummies or something, and it's going to be like $15. I'm going to buy a thermometer because I can't find my thermometer. What a surprise. My kid was the last to use it, and I have no idea where it is. We have to buy a thermometer. That's going to be like, what, $50? Because they don't make the little stupid glass ones anymore. You got to buy something with a charger. I don't know. And then I'm going to buy my Powerball ticket. And if I win, I'm not going to really care about how much I spent at CVS. Oranges, too. I feel like I need to just eat a bunch of oranges. I feel like vitamin C is going to be the trick to getting over this. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. We'll see you tomorrow at noon. Have a wonderful Halloween. Have all the fun that's available to you. We'll see you tomorrow at noon. Bye, everybody. Far from the comfort nest, I am on a never-ending quest. Tomorrow is another day, the best is yet to come. I have found a different way, so baffling to some.